The sound of chains clashing filled the air, echoing through the cold, dark cell block. Blood ran down the cracked concrete floor, mixing with dirty water from a broken pipe. Two inmates circled each other like caged animals, their faces twisted with rage and fear. The crowd of prisoners roared, pounding their fists against the metal bars. In the center of the chaos stood Marcus Ray, tall, strong, but tired, his eyes bloodshot, his knuckles bleeding. Across from him was Tyrell the Hammer Jones, a mountain of muscle and hate. The fight wasn't just for survival, it was for freedom. The guards watched from the shadows, pretending not to see. Warden Clay had promised the winner something every prisoner dreamed of, a second chance. But Marcus knew better. No one ever really left Stonebridge Penitentiary alive. Tyrell swung hard, his punch cracking against Marcus's jaw. Blood sprayed across the wall. The crowd howled. Marcus stumbled back, seeing stars, the world spinning. He could hear the guards laughing, the sound of boots echoing closer. "You're done, Ray," Tyrell growled, charging like a bull. Marcus ducked just in time. Tyrell slammed into the metal fence, his shoulder bursting open with pain. Marcus grabbed a piece of broken chain from the ground, his last hope, and wrapped it around his fist. The noise was deafening, his heartbeat pounding louder than the shouts. Then crack. Tyrell's body hit the floor. Silent. Still. The crowd froze. The guards stopped laughing. Marcus stood over him, trembling, the chain dripping with blood. He could hardly breathe. His hands shook as the lights flickered, one by one, down the long hallway. And then something strange happened. From the shadows at the far end of the cell block, a figure stepped out, dressed in a guard's uniform, but the face was wrong. Pale. Smiling. Eyes glowing faintly red under the flickering lights. Marcus blinked. Who are you?" he whispered. The figure tilted its head, grinning wider. "I'm the one who decides who really gets out of here." The lights went out. Screams followed. To be continued. It hadn't always been like this. Months before the fight, before the blood and the fear, Marcus Ray was just another man trying to stay alive in Stonebridge. He had been there for 5 years, wrongfully convicted, or so he claimed. A former mechanic from Atlanta, caught up in a robbery gone wrong. The jury didn't believe his story. At first, prison life was simple. Keep your head down, do your time, avoid the gangs. But Stonebridge wasn't a normal prison. Rumors whispered through the cell blocks, stories of fights organized by guards, of men disappearing overnight, of something living beneath the old prison tunnels. Marcus never believed them, not until the night he heard the screams. He had been mopping the hallway near cell block D when the noise came from below. A sound too human to be an animal, too deep to be a man. The guards told everyone it was just the pipes. But Marcus knew pipes didn't beg for mercy. He tried to ignore it, but the nightmares started soon after. Every night, he saw the same image, a figure standing at the end of his cell, whispering his name. Ray, Ray, time's almost up. Weeks later, a new inmate arrived, Tyrell Jones. Big, mean, and known across the state for leading underground fight rings. The guards treated him like royalty, and that made Marcus nervous. Tyrell didn't care who you were. He fought anyone who looked at him the wrong way. One night in the cafeteria, Tyrell slammed his tray down beside Marcus. "You the mechanic?" he asked, his voice low. Marcus nodded slowly. "Used to be." "You're gonna fix something for me," Tyrell said, pulling a small piece of metal from his pocket. It was part of a broken shiv. "And if you don't," he leaned closer, "you'll wish you were dead." Marcus fixed it. He didn't have a choice. But that was the start of everything. From that day on, the guards began calling Marcus the fighter. Rumors spread that he could take down anyone in the yard. It was a lie, but one that stuck. Soon, the inmates began placing bets on him, and the guards joined in. Then came the announcement, the death race. No one knew who started it. Some said it was the warden himself, others said it was an old prison tradition. But the rule was simple, a secret race through the abandoned tunnels under the prison. Only one would survive, and the winner would earn their freedom. Marcus didn't want to join, but when the guards picked his name, There was no turning back. And, to make things worse, Tyrell Jones was on the list too. That night, before the race began, Marcus sat in his cell, listening to the rain hit the roof. His cellmate, an old man named Reggie, spoke softly. "Ain't no freedom down there, son. Only ghosts." Marcus didn't answer. He just stared at the floor, remembering his daughter's face. He hadn't seen her since his arrest. If he could win, maybe he'd finally get out. Maybe he could make things right. When the horn sounded at midnight, the gates opened and the death race began. The tunnels were cold and dripping, filled with rats and echoes of the past. Flashlights flickered. Marcus ran, his heart pounding. Behind him, Tyrell's heavy footsteps echoed closer and closer. But something else moved in the dark. Marcus could feel it watching them, breathing behind the walls. One man screamed, then silence. Another fell into the water, never coming up. By the time Marcus reached the end, only two were left, him and Tyrell. And that was when the real fight began. The guards formed a ring. The crowd cheered. Blood hit the concrete. Marcus swung. Tyrell swung back, and the world turned red. And now, standing over Tyrell's lifeless body, Marcus realized something terrible. The race wasn't about freedom. It was about sacrifice. The winner didn't walk out of Stonebridge. He stayed. Forever. The lights flickered again. The red-eyed figure whispered from the dark. "Round 2 begins now." The lights went out, and everything turned black. Screams echoed through the cell block. Short, sharp, desperate. The kind that didn't sound human anymore. Marcus froze, his breath ragged, the chain still heavy in his hand. Somewhere behind him, metal scraped against metal, like something dragging along the bars. Then came the whisper. "Round 2 begins now." The voice was close, too close. Marcus spun around, but there was only darkness. He stumbled backward, bumping into Tyrell's body. It was still warm. His heart raced. He could feel eyes watching him, dozens of them, though the crowd had fallen silent. The air smelled like rust, sweat, and something else, like burnt hair. A light flickered on at the far end of the hall, dim and sickly yellow. The red-eyed guard figure was gone. In its place stood Warden Clay, hands behind his back, face calm as stone. "Impressive, Ray," he said, his voice echoing. "Didn't think you had it in you." Marcus swallowed hard, his throat dry. "What was that thing?" he asked. The warden tilted his head slightly. "Thing? You mean the ghost stories these men tell? You just saw the truth about yourself. The rest? That's just your mind playing tricks." But Marcus knew what he saw. Those glowing red eyes weren't a trick. He'd seen plenty of monsters in prison, but not like that. "Take him to the hole," Warden Clay ordered. He won the fight, but he still broke the rules. 2 guards stepped forward. They grabbed Marcus by the arms and dragged him down the hall. The prisoners stayed silent, their faces pale in the dim light. Even they didn't cheer this time. The walk to solitary was long and cold. Every step echoed off the concrete walls. The guards didn't speak. They just pushed Marcus through a steel door and locked it behind him. The darkness swallowed him whole. He sat down on the cold floor, trying to slow his heartbeat. There was no bed, no toilet, just a bucket and a single, flickering light bulb overhead. The air was thick with dampness and rot. He leaned his head back and closed his eyes. Then tap, tap, tap. He opened them. The sound came from the wall. Slow at first, then faster. Like fingernails scratching through concrete. "Who's there?" he whispered. No answer. He pressed his ear to the wall, and that's when he heard it. Someone whispering from the other side. "Ray, you shouldn't have killed him." Marcus jumped back. The voice was faint but clear, and it wasn't Tyrell's. It was deeper, older, and full of something that felt wrong. Then came the smell, smoke but not like cigarettes. Like burning flesh. The light above him flickered once, twice, then burst with a sharp pop, sending sparks down. Marcus covered his head. When he looked up again, the room was pitch black. And in the blackness, something moved. A shape, crawling on the floor, just outside the faint glow of the broken bulb. Marcus's breath caught in his chest. He crawled backward until his back hit the cold steel wall. The thing moved closer, slowly, like it had all the time in the world. He could hear its breathing now, wet, heavy, uneven. Marcus reached for the chain still wrapped around his wrist. "Stay back," he shouted. Then, as lightning flashed outside the tiny barred window, he saw it for just a second. Its face. Pale gray skin stretched tight over bone. Eyes hollow, but glowing faint red. A twisted grin, the same as before. Marcus lunged forward, swinging the chain through the darkness. The chain hit something solid, and the thing screamed. A high, sharp noise that made his ears ring. He stumbled to his feet, slamming his fists against the door. "Guard! Somebody! Let me out!" No one came. Only silence followed. Then, slowly, he heard the whisper again, right beside his ear. "You can't fight what's already inside you." The door suddenly swung open. Marcus fell forward into the hallway, gasping. 2 guards stood there, flashlights in hand, looking annoyed. "What the hell are you doing, Ray?" one of them barked. "There was something in there," Marcus shouted. "It tried to." The other guard cut him off with a smirk. "Save it. Warden says you've got work to do." They dragged him back toward the main block. The hallway lights buzzed and flickered again, and Marcus saw something strange, scratch marks on the walls, deep and fresh, like claws. When they passed cell block D, the other inmates stared quietly. Some looked at Marcus like they pitied him. Others just looked scared. One whispered, "You saw it, didn't you?" before another inmate pulled him back. The guards pushed Marcus into a small office near the warden's wing. Inside, Warden Clay sat behind his desk, flipping through a thick file. A lamp glowed beside him, throwing long shadows across the room. "Sit down," he said. Marcus sat, eyes darting to the corners of the room. He still felt like someone, or something, was watching him. "You're a strong man," the warden said, not looking up. "You've survived things that would have broken most. That's why I need you for something special." Marcus frowned. "I'm not fighting again." The warden chuckled. "This isn't a fight. It's an opportunity. There's another section of Stonebridge, below the tunnels. We lost contact with the last team that went down there. You'll go in, and you'll bring something back for me." "What kind of something?" Marcus asked. Clay leaned forward, ice cold. "A key. Old, rusted, black iron. You'll know it when you see it." Marcus shook his head. "You want me to go where your own men disappeared?" The warden smiled thinly. "Consider it community service. Or would you rather I throw you back in the hole with your new friend?" Marcus's stomach twisted. He didn't have a choice. "Fine," he muttered. Clay slid a flashlight and a map across the desk. "Good. You leave tonight. And remember, Ray, whatever you hear down there, don't look back." Hours later, when the prison was asleep, Marcus stood at the mouth of a rusted staircase leading down into the lower tunnels. A single guard handed him the flashlight and nodded. "You go alone," the guard said quietly. "And if you start hearing voices, run." Marcus descended into the dark. The air grew colder with every step, heavy with moisture and the smell of decay. Water dripped from the ceiling in slow, steady beats. His flashlight flickered, the beam cutting through dust and fog. He followed the map, passing old brick walls covered in moss. Strange symbols were carved into the stone, circles, spirals, and marks that looked almost like faces. Then, somewhere deep in the dark, he heard footsteps. They weren't his. He turned slowly, shining the light behind him. The tunnel was empty. The air was still. Then the sound came again, closer. Marcus swallowed hard and began to move faster, his footsteps echoing louder now. The tunnel split into 2 paths, one marked with a rusted arrow, the other fading into darkness. He looked at the map. Both paths led to the same place. Then, a whisper drifted from the dark tunnel. "Marcus." He froze. The voice was soft, almost kind. It sounded like his daughter. He turned the flashlight toward the voice and saw a small handprint smeared in blood on the wall. Marcus's breath caught. "No," he whispered. "You're not real." But when he turned to run, something moved behind him, fast. A shadow slid along the wall, tall and wrong, and the red eyes appeared again, brighter this time, closer. "Welcome back," the whisper said. "The race isn't over yet." And before Marcus could move, the ground beneath him gave way. The floor cracked open and he fell into the dark below.